Attention! Breaking news! Right now, there are major advances being made by the Russian Federation Army. This is breaking news. Just a few moments ago, reports emerged that the Russian Federation Army has already surrounded the Ukrainian army in the city of Kupyansk. This is of absolutely crucial importance, not only in terms of geographical and military advances, but also in terms of media victories. Stay until the end. I'll summarize as much as possible, and you'll be amazed. This is related to the year 2022, when Russia had to abandon a number of cities, among which, pay attention, was Kupyansk. But anyway, let's get straight to the information at hand. This is what's essential. Right now, I repeat, the group of the Ukrainian armed forces in Kupyansk is completely isolated. This is the information that's coming in, that I've been receiving for quite a few days now. But now it seems that there are more and more military sources, for now from Russia, that are talking about this. In Ukraine, as we know, they won't acknowledge it. At least not for a week, until the exact moment when they can no longer directly deny it. Supplying Ukrainian soldiers is only possible through drones, according to military channels. Again, it's the Russian channels reporting this. Traditionally, they actively attack the enemy with drones. There are images showing how these drones from the Russian Federation operate in the Kupyansk area, but this really has an importance, I repeat, absolutely crucial, not only because Kupyansk is a key logistical hub, it is also a very important stronghold for the armed forces of Ukraine, not only strategically, but also in terms of troop morale, because we are talking about. And this is where things start to get really interesting on one hand, and then really important on the other. And that's because Kupyansk is part of this series of towns that the troops of the Russian Federation had to abandon in 2022. And this is where a video I recorded exactly when this happened comes in, because there were some images that were truly chilling, that still chill you to the bone, because of course, I can't show them here in full, so I'll leave the link to this post in a comment, pinned in the description of this video. It's a post I made on my Telegram channel, and there I explain how, once the soldiers of the Russian Federation withdraw, images begin to appear of Ukrainian forces, presumably with a very high probability, throwing a number of bodies into some kind of ravine. And then there were many testimonies saying that Ukraine settled scores with the civilians. And this is where we come to the issue at hand regarding the Russian advance on the city of Kupyansk. Right now, according to this information, which is still to be confirmed, again, it's hardly the first time I've received them or heard about them from this or other sources. But now, this information appears to be confirmed. The Ukrainian troops are surrounded in Kupyansk, and no matter what, the city of Kupyansk is going to fall. Whether it's in a week, 2 weeks, a month, or 2 months, it's inevitable. And then Russia is going to achieve 3 victories at once, as a result of which, now we are at a moment in which Ukraine is going to try to cover up these 3 victories. Because the third one is extremely dangerous for the Kiev regime. The most dangerous one, I would say, and in this sense, the Russian Federation, also in other contexts. But now, I think, it is becoming more feasible than ever. It is warning about a possible provocation from Ukraine. I'm reading this from Maria Zakharova. And let's go straight to these 3 victories, which will soon fall by their own inevitable weight. The Kiev regime, I quote, does not hide its preparation of new attacks against our country in order to intensify the conflict. That's what Zelensky declared on October 8 in his video message, where he added that he had approved certain plans from the Security Service of Ukraine, for operations against Russia. That's what the spokesperson for the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Maria Zakharova, confirmed. And this is where we get to the point where, on one hand, Ukraine's military situation is absolutely devastating. Right now, in fact, another kind of blackout is being reported in almost all of Ukraine, except for a couple of very specific regions. The authorities are already telling people to prepare for a very harsh winter. They are advising people not to use elevators as much as possible, and to take care so that this lack of electricity doesn't end up affecting them even more. The Russian Federation, especially with information from Kupyansk, is clearly achieving its first and most obvious victory, a military victory. An undeniable fact, absolutely. If Ukraine loses Kupyansk, the blow that its army takes, as well as its morale, will be tremendous. But there are also two other victories, both in the media. First, the media victory that will be the direct consequence of losing Kupyansk. That is, Western media, of course, will try to avoid it at all costs. But they will have to write headlines about the fact that the Russian Federation has gained territory and therefore has not ended up losing to Ukraine. Now, since they are trying to keep the Ukrainian cause afloat, this comes at a very bad time. But the most dangerous victory for Russia, the saddest, the most tragic one, clearly, is the third one, the media victory. And it has to do with this post that I mentioned to you, which I made in 2022 on my Telegram channel. So those allegedly civilians whom allegedly Ukrainian soldiers, well, you have to be very careful here. The methods. They threw them off a ravine by the dozens. Most likely, they are still somewhere in the Kupyansk area, and probably not just those civilians. So, when the Russian Federation manages to retake this city, it will be able to carry out the necessary investigations. And then it will turn out, you'll see, that Western media will have another job to do. And Ukraine, therefore, will be at the forefront. Also, as usual, the hypocrites of the West will do the same. Look the other way and pretend that the Ukrainian army has never committed any war crimes or anything like that, even though, in fact, the facts say otherwise. And it's precisely here where we remember once again the words of Maria Zakharova about possible provocations in Ukraine. The closer Russia gets to a truly independent investigation that could confirm who those bodies belong to. What really happened in the city of Kupyansk? How did Ukraine treat those who stayed when the troops of the Russian Federation entered there? Well, the Kiev regime has more to worry about trying to silence Russia's voice and doing whatever it takes to draw attention to any other cause, even if it's another tragedy that they carry out and organize with their own hands, and, of course, with the West, most likely on the territory of the Russian Federation. Here is the use of tomahawks, and in the end, they end up handing them over, if they haven't already. It's going to be an absolutely key point, because Ukraine, after so many staged events of all kinds and sizes, won't be able to withstand the blow of reality with all the evidence in hand. And what we saw then, I already warned about it myself. Many experts also warned about it. Those who really analyze reality, it's one atrocity after another. And really, if Western media were even minimally independent, would this be the final nail in the coffin for the Kyiv regime, which, during these past years, has really done nothing but commit atrocities against its own people? All of this, done above all, is especially noteworthy, more than anything else appropriate. We are going to closely monitor the situation on the Kupyansk front, because it matters to us, not only, and perhaps not even so much, in military terms as in civil and media terms. Let's see how the West defends itself from this. I'm Liu Sivaya, geopolitical and military analyst. Right now, I'm directly on the ground, at the scene, working as a war correspondent in Donbass. Follow me to stay up to date with the latest news, both geopolitical and military, especially about the Ukrainian conflict. Thank you for being here for this urgent report, and I'll see you in the next one.